Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard. Thank you for watching today's Canada Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, as we're going to start off talking about the wildfires and the smoke, something kind of interesting here. When we look at the visible satellite loop, now it doesn't show up as well as I wish it did here, kind of zoomed in on one of the global sectors here, but you see some of this haze moving into the southern areas of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And that haze is smoke from the wildfires in northern Alberta that's caught in the upper levels of the atmosphere, going for a ride on those jet stream winds, causing some issues here. We got air quality alerts, especially in northern Alberta. Some of that making its way south as well as we talk about some of the smoke in the air. Folks with respiratory issues, definitely something to be aware of over the next several days as we deal with some of the smoke here. Also to be expected are hazy skies. So even when you got a blue sky shining, the sun shining, you get kind of like the opaque looking blue sky, and then you can get those really red sunsets and sunrises as well. So a few different impacts there when we talk about hazy skies and respiratory issues from the smoke from those wildfires over the next few days. Now, we can actually model this with the high-resolution rapid refresh model, and unfortunately, the full domain for this only includes the far southern sliver of the Canadian prairie provinces here, but as we play this out, you can see kind of a plume of very thick smoke making its way towards the U.S. border here, across especially portions of southern Saskatchewan, but Manitoba and Alberta picking up on some of that as well. But again, hazy skies, poor air quality over the next few days, something to be aware of. Also be aware that wildfire risk does continue to be extreme, especially over northern Alberta over the next few days as we continue with hot and dry conditions. So we want to make sure that we're taking precautions there and just be aware that, wildfires, it could be a situation where we see additional fires springing up over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, the reason for this, a couple different ways now. We got we'll play the jet stream here. We're watching this major ridge just kind of spinning away off to the west and central portions of Canada here. And that is acting to keep things hot and dry across the region. And that's acting also to kind of keep some of that smoke trapped in the area, and that's leading to poor air quality in those hazy skies again. So kind of the instigator of the fires and also the instigator of keeping some of that smoke in the region. Now, as we look ahead, the week one precipitation anomalies taking us into the first few days of June, and we continue to see very dry conditions, especially across southern portions here of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, with maybe near average conditions off to the north for the next week. As we look ahead to week two, we do see the pattern finally break down a bit, and we at least move towards average to wetter than average conditions across the entire high production areas here across the Canadian prairies. If we look at the temperature anomalies for the next 5 days, we can see that ridge of high pressure very clearly here, hot and dry across Alberta and Saskatchewan, a little closer to average across Manitoba. Then we move to the next 5 days following that, days 6 through 10, getting into the first week of June now, starting to see that heat kind of shift off to the south and east while we work in a bit of a different look here with the jet stream. Now, here is that look. Here's that ridge of high pressure that we're dealing with right now. And as I play this out over the next few days, you'll see this ridge continue to spin away until we get toward the weekend. And then we're going to see a flip towards troughing over the exact same area. And that's going to cool us down a little bit. It's also going to bring the chance for rain and thunderstorms back to the area, kind of bring an end to this hot and dry period. Now, we can take a look at that with the European model. I'm going to go ahead and step through time to kind of break down the timing on this. Let's go ahead and pause. We'll go back to the beginning. And remember, hot and dry for the middle part of this week. Maybe some rain showers sneaking through portions of Manitoba and northern Saskatchewan Thursday into Friday. We continue to be mostly dry until we get to the backside of the weekend. Now notice that. We're actually developing an area of low pressure across Alberta by the time we get to Saturday night. And that tracks across northern portions of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Before we get into the early part of next week, and we see another low developing across southern Alberta, and that lifts off to the east-northeast, bringing widespread showers and storms again to parts of southern Alberta into Saskatchewan and much of Manitoba Sunday and Monday. So dry for the next few days, but by the time we get to Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, introducing the chances for some precipitation and actually seeing a couple of areas of low pressure track through the area. So getting a little bit more of a late spring vibe as we get to the weekend and early next week. Total precipitation across the entire region, we'll loop this out. Remember, dry to start off. We'll go ahead and play this loop one more time, but then as we get into the weekend, starting to introduce at least scattered chances for precipitation across the region. Not everyone going to get rain here, and not everyone's going to remain dry. The heavier precipitation, where we're talking about closer to an inch or so, going to be kind of scattered. And we'll zoom in here, take a closer look at Alberta. looking at just the next 5 days now. So this takes us through Saturday, and that's where you see maybe the chance of some rain falling across far northern Alberta, maybe the chance for some light rain or light precipitation falling on the Front Range here, but predominantly dry, getting us all the way through Saturday. It's the back half of the weekend into next week we see the precipitation work in. We'll look at the high temperature forecast here, starting with Tuesday and the lower 30s, very hot, very dry off to the north, all the way down to near 20 in the south. Your Wednesday high temperatures, hot again, kind of expanding into the middle 20s across the south. And then we start to see that heat begin to be pushed off to the east by the time we get to Thursday. And then Friday and Saturday, really still keeping that heat kind of around until we get to the back half of the weekend. It's Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday that we really start to kind of get this heat to push off to the south and the east. But unfortunately, the next 4 or 5 days, while we do see maybe a little bit of a break on Thursday, it looks hot and dry for the next 5 days. Shifting east, looking at Saskatchewan and Manitoba, just the next 5 days again. Remember, the rainier period begins at the end of the weekend into early next week, but just taking us through Saturday, we see that northern system bringing maybe some light precipitation to northern Saskatchewan and then northern and central Manitoba. Otherwise, across the south here, high production ag areas looking dry until we get to the end of the weekend into early next week before we start to shift back to a chance of scattered showers and storms. Your high temperatures here, starting with Tuesday, very warm off to the southwest, mid-20s across much of southern and central Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba. And then we get into, this would be Wednesday high temperatures, again, hot off to the south of this dividing line, cooler off to the north. Friday, that dome of heat beginning to shift off to the south and to the east, becoming more of a problem for southern Saskatchewan and southwestern Manitoba. And then your Friday high temperatures and Saturday, still dealing with that heat. So again, we're seeing, brief reprieves from the heat, perhaps on Thursday, but overall, the heat staying across much of Alberta and southern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba until we get to the end of the week and into early next week. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video, and I'll have your next Canada regional update for you right here midday on Friday. Have a great day.